Well, good morning. My name's Edward Childs. For those of you who don't recognize me, it's because I'm wearing a suit. Apologies for that. I've actually already had a few people come up to me and say, "Oh gosh, I only just realized you were here." So yes, in fact, I said to Russell yesterday, "What's the business attire?" And he said, "Suit." And I thought, "Dear, have to go and dig it. Have to go and dig it out." Anyway, so delighted to be here. It's been two very interesting presentations so far. My presentation today is on the real estate market, really with a focus on the existing villa market in the BVI, but looking at some other aspects as well. So looking, Russell asked me actually when I did the article for the 2016 edition of the BVI Business magazine to look at a span of 2006 to 2016. What have the changes been? Is it gonna work? Well, we have no changes. No, I think I'm just putting up three slides, three properties. I hope you all recognise them. Left, Scrub Island. In the middle is Walnut Bay. On the right is Mosquito Island. All these photos were taken either in 2006 or prior to 2006. No, nothing's. There we are. And this is where we are now. We're here at Scrub Island. It's been developed. In fact, things are now moving on. It's been through a bit of a rocky patch, but as I say, they've come out of receivership and are looking forward to the future. In the middle, we have Walnut Bay, a development up in the far end of North Sand. And from when that was started to develop in 2009 to now, huge amount of infrastructure has gone into that development. And on the right-hand side, we have Mosquito Island, another development in the North Sound area, where there's, again, some substantial infrastructure going on, and there's already one villa already constructed. I thought I would just put a slide up very quickly. I don't want to go through too much detail, but just putting a couple of markers down, 2006 to 2016. What's changed in the general market? So, for example, the pound US dollar exchange rate, 2006 we were $1.77. Interestingly enough, by the end of that year, it had gone up to almost $2 to the pound. January, $1.46. In fact, we're now about $1.44. So that the pound is under a great deal of pressure at the moment. Commodities, obviously Brent crude oil prices, everybody's very interested in seeing what's going to happen with that. We're now down, I was at university in Aberdeen in the early 80s. The oil price now is about the same as when I was in Aberdeen, 1985 I think it was. Gold has gone back up. The markets, well, they're a bit shaky. And we've obviously seen what's been happening at the start of January with the China market. In the BVI, we're very much influenced by what goes on in the US. So again, what's happened here? Base rates back in January 2006, 4.5, huge amounts of growth. Now, we've actually just had the very first rise. So we're now at 0.5% with the Fed from last week. Inflation rates have gone back down. Unemployment data, interestingly enough, 2006, 4.7%. We're now around about, well, the States is around about 5%. And the unemployment rate in the States was really what the Fed was looking at when they make decisions on changing the base rates there. From a real estate point of view, what happens with housing? And you can see 2006, huge amounts of housing starts. We're now basically 50% of what the housing starts were compared to 10 years ago. Oop. You seem to go the wrong way. Sorry about this. All right. Just looking at an overview of the market, so 2006 was really the height of the market. I know a lot of people think 2007 was, but by the start of 2007 there was some issues and concerns about the subprime market in the States. And I think we were, by the middle of that year, we're really beginning to see people question what was going on. So 2006 to me was really the height, start of 2007 as well. 2008, September, we saw the issues with Lehman. We also had KSF, Kaufman, Singer and Friedlander, a couple of banks, both very active in the Caribbean, went to the wall. And that was really the start of what we then perceived to be the economic collapse. Keeps on going the wrong way. Sorry about this. It's there we are. 2009, 2012 is what I view as being the recession years, and very finicky. 2013, we start to see the market begin to return in the Caribbean. We'll come on to that in a couple of slides a bit later. The BVI property market has been impacted by the economic recession, and again, we'll put some slides up that really show what's been happening in the numbers. But we do have the emergence of North Sound as a destination, a very, very high-end destination market. I've already mentioned Walnut Bay, Mosquito Island. We've had the development at YCCS, a very impressive mega yacht marina, and there's also another development just starting to proceed at Blunder Bay. Walnut Bay, these are all fairly low density developments. Gosh, it doesn't like going backwards. Walnut Bay Estate, 88 villa lots in total. Some big houses going in there, 6, 8 bedrooms, so on. YCCS again, the actual main dock, if nobody's seen it, it's around about 800 feet in length. Mosquito Island, 120 acres inside, it's only got 10 villa lots. And Blunder Bay, again, close to Mosquito Island, also has only 10 villa lots. Russell, this is... Sorry about this. It's just... Can you do it by... Yeah, I think so. If you can do it on that, this is on to the next one. And again, Scrub Island is emerging from receivership. And go on to the next one. And we also have Nanny Key Resort and Marina, which is undertaking a new part of their marina development, which is, if people are driving past Road Town, you'll see it, past Nanny Key, you'll see the development underway. Okay, next slide. What I want to do now is just present some of the statistics of the house sales, the villa sales, and we look at the statistics of villas sold over 500,000. The data is from Land Registry, and I will put a note here that the data we use is relating to asset sales. There are a very, very small number of sales that happen through share transfers that don't go through Land Registry, so those wouldn't be included in this data. There's also a couple of developments where whilst somebody may buy a condominium or so, the people are buying the site, then it gets built. So the data that goes through Land Registry relates to the sale of the land rather than the end product. So those aren't included here either. The data goes from 2003 all the way to 2015, and it really does show a fairly good trajectory going all the way up to 2008. I did mention that 2006 was really the height of the market. You may wonder why 2006 has gone down. I'll come back to that. But because at the time it was taking around about 18 months to get sales through with the landholding licenses, the sales that were closing in 2008 were really the ones that were being put into contract back in 2006, 2007. 2006 is interesting. We don't know why those sales would have gone down that year, but I can hazard a guess. In 2005, I think it was, the stamp duty was increased from 8% to 12%, and I've got a feeling that is probably what's resulted in this drop in sales in 2006. So it does give you a visual indication, a likely indication of the impact of changing stamp duty rates. So all the way to 2008, we had the height of the market. We had just under 30 sales of properties in the BVI. Again, this is developed property. 30 sales in the BVI, that's across the board. It gives you an idea that we are really a very, very small market. Looking at 2009, 2010, 2011, 2010 is interesting. It shows a little leap up. The reality there is that 5 of those sales were from Scrub Island, and those were actually ones that were contracted sometime earlier, back in sort of 2006, 2007 probably, but they didn't close until 2010. So that skewed the numbers in 2010 a little bit. And then we see a slide down all the way to 2012. And then, as I said, the market really, interest from people overseas started to come back. So 2013, 2014, we've seen some increased activity. Annual sales in both years, 21 villas over 500,000. But then 2015, we've seen it dip back down. So I think it just reflects that although we are in a recovery period, it is still fairly fragile. Okay, next slide, please. This shows very much similar data. It just shows the volume in dollars that has been sold by year. And again, we see the same trend going all the way up to 2008, just over $45 million worth of real estate being sold, dropping down through the recession years, 2009, 2012, and then just coming back up the last couple of years. And again, just to repeat, this is villa sales, and obviously what this doesn't reflect is the activity that's going on in the North Sound area, Walnut Bay, and at Mosquito Island, where the sales there are of land, and then you've got villas being built. Next slide. I thought I'd put this one in because it shows an interesting correlation between the market and what's been going on with the recession and the economy, and the activity of belongers in the market, and BV Islanders. So you can see from 2003, even 2006, there was no purchases of villas over 500,000 within the local market. And then by 2007, 2008, again, it's being dominated by people from overseas. And then in the recession years, that percentage is being reversed. You've got more belongers and BV Islanders in the market, and now we're going back to a trend where you're starting to see more people from overseas coming back into the market. So again, just separating out the sales of villas between people from overseas and locals, it really reflects the economic trends. The BV Islanders, the local market, it tends to be a market sub $1 million, whereas the overseas market could be anything up to $1 million, but certainly over $1 million as well. Next slide, please. I've broken this down again. The same data is broken down into sales by price category. So you can see the categories are villas between 500,000 and $1 million, between 1 million and 3 million, and then over 3 million. So you can really see that the market is dominated by properties really up to $1 million. And then, between 1 and 3 million, you've got quite a few sales. Over 3 million, we're down to just a handful of sales. Thank you. One aspect we do look at is we try and keep a track on when a property is sold, what was it listed at, and what does it eventually sell at? Now, this is slightly different data because we're only looking at villas sold over $1 million. And it also, I've included some sales in there which have been from share transactions. What's interesting about this data, I don't want to go through it all in a huge amount of detail, but if you look at the right side, you've got 2 columns. You've got the percentage change between the asking price, the average listing price, and the average sale price. And you've got the average number of years in the market. So 2010, 11, 12, as I said, were recession years, but you saw only a fairly small reduction in price from the average asking price to the average sale price. And also the properties being sold on average were only on the market for a couple of years. Now we are in a period of time when we say the market is starting to recover, but you're seeing much higher differences between the asking price and the average sale price, and also the amount of time the property has been on the market. What's that mean? It means that as time has gone on, if somebody wants to sell their property, then they've realized that they're going to have to really reduce their prices far more. And this is reflected in the fact that over the last couple of years, we've seen houses that are now selling, which have been in the higher price band. Because if you look at for example, 2015, you can see the average listing price at almost $8 million. So we've had a couple of very high-end houses on the market, which have eventually sold, where the owners have had to take a substantial reduction from the original asking price. Now the trouble is, what we find is that people put their houses on the market at a certain price. When they eventually come to reducing or agreeing an eventual sale price, they feel that they've lost a lot of value. Quite often that value hasn't been there because the house has been put on overinflated price in the first case. All right, next slide, please. Analysis of sales on Tortola and Virgin Gorda, taking the same data as the slide before. What we've done here is separated out between the Tortola and the Virgin Gorda markets. And again, we've looked at the average listing price, and on average, Virgin Gorda, as you can see, the houses over there are listed 50% higher than houses on Tortola. And the actual sale price in Virgin Gorda, again, you've got houses going on average 83% higher than the house in Tortola. The percentage on the right-hand side, the change there is again the difference between the average listing price, average sale price, and again on Tortola we're seeing that people have to be much more circumspect when they come to sell their home, and you've got much greater differences between listing prices and sale prices compared to Virgin Gorda. What does this mean? Virgin Gorda has always been a separate market, but I think with the recession what we're seeing is it's become a much more distinct market. It's always been known as the island where you've got much more tourism going on, you've got Little Licks Bay, everything that's going on up in North Sound. And I think the pricing there, people recognize that if they put the house in the market, it's going to retain its value probably better than the house in Tortola. All right, next slide. This is some further research we've been doing really only for the last 2 or 3 years, because what we've been seeing is, how long is it going to take for the market to recover? Even though the market may recover up in the States, and obviously we're greatly influenced by the States, what's going to happen down in the BVI? So what we want to know is how many properties are actually actively on the market at any one time. So from 2013, 14 and 15 we've been researching this data. As you can see, we have on average over 200 villas, again pricing range 500,000 and above, on the market at any one time. Let's go back to the first slide I put on when it showed the number of sales per year, and at the height of the market, 2008, which reflected contracts from 2006, 2007. At the height of the market, we had a total of 29 sales that year. A tiny market. We're now down in the 15 to 20 sales a year. If you look at the number of, thank you. If you look at the number of houses on the market, 200, and we're selling 20 villas a year, we have a 10-year inventory of villas on the market. So I think one of the issues we have is clearing out that inventory. Because until you can balance demand and supply better, then it's always going to be difficult for a vendor to be able to realize the price that they want, while somebody coming into the market to purchase has got such a lot of choice. So that's really one of the crux of the issues that we have, is how long is that inventory going to take to sell? Now, those 200 villas on the market, you could well say maybe 50%, 60% are really seriously on the market, and the others are really where somebody's gone, oh well, I'll stick it in the market and see if I get a price. They're not necessarily serious sellers. And I certainly know, I came here in 1990 and there's houses on the market now that were on the market when I first came here. So Can we go back to the... okay. Okay, all right. We have to move on. I've actually come... Russ will be very happy to know that I've come to conclusions page. If we go on to the conclusions, that'd be great. So a few conclusions on the real estate market, if we can just go through these. We're still facing a market recovery. We do have increased interest from people from overseas, which is always good news. But, as we've just seen from the last slide, we have a huge volume of properties actively on the market compared to the number of sales per year. Restrictions on foreign ownership. I'm glad members of the government are here because they're going to listen to me. It's always, always a good opportunity when you hold the microphone. What do we do? I mean, I've said we have a number of houses on the market. How do we shift that? Are there things that we can do to make people's lives easier when they come into the market? Can we encourage, which I think we all want to do, local ownership? Because we've already seen how that local market will buy when in times of recession. Why are they buying in times of recession? Probably because they feel that there's a good opportunity. Pricing is better. Time to process landholding licenses. I said earlier on that the time is around about 18 months, and around, I think it's 2006, 2007. We have improved. We're now down to about 6 months. But that's probably still not good enough. And I think the actual approval time to get it through cabinet is probably about 3 months. The post-cabinet time is still probably about 3 months. And that's an area we can certainly improve on. Landholding license altering property. What do I mean by that? If somebody comes in and buys a property now, let's say somebody buys a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. If they want to add a 3rd bedroom, then they have to go back through the entire process and get another landholding, or change their landholding license to get another bathroom. Is that really what we need? I think we need to look at that. I have a client up in North Sound who wanted to put in a swimming pool. We had to add that into his new landholding license. We were very delighted to give him his new landholding license, and then he promptly turned around and said, actually, I've changed my mind. And I was like, oh, don't change your mind. But then thought, why shouldn't he change his mind? Rental restrictions. This has been a thorny question for, probably about 15 years. Are people from overseas allowed to rent their property? There's no answer that I can give to somebody that really asks that question. People who buy within a resort environment, Walnut Bay, Long Bay, Nail Bay, and so on, are going to be allowed to rent their property. But people buying outside those markets, it is a question. If the villa has a rental history, yes. If it doesn't have a rental history, probably no. Immigration. At the moment, if somebody comes and buys a property in the BVI, they've invested, they've paid their 12% stamp duty, they're then allowed to live here for up to 6 months unless they go and they want to take out annual residency. If they do take out annual residency, they have to go through a medical test. And again, I think this is an area we need to look at, to how do you encourage people to come here. And again, we're looking at a regional position. What do other countries do? They certainly make it a little bit easier in many respects to buy, not just buy property here, but to live here as well. Another conclusion, North Sound is emerging as a separate market. I've mentioned that already. And we have limited development elsewhere in the BVI. So North Sound has certainly been a very active place, but what else is going on? Apart from Nanny Key, Scrub Island now, there's a couple of other projects in the pipeline, but what else is going to be happening to the BVI over the next few years? So I've flown through this presentation.
Thank you.